Administrator Lubchenco, Admiral Papp, thank you for being here. Administrator Lubchenco, I want to go over the budget, and one of the things that we're very concerned about in Washington State, we've already had a lot of news about this, is this tsunami debris issue, and you've probably seen your own analysis about this, but this chart shows the debris starting in where the debris field is now in 2000 and where it was expected to be in 2013 and what the impact in the Northwest is by 2014. So that is something that is a great concern to us, and we think we need more data as to what the impact is. Our coastal region employs over 160,000 people and is a huge economic impact to our state, over $10 billion in economic activity. So we want to make sure that we have a plan for how to deal with this tsunami debris. And I'm assuming, well, why don't I just get a yes or no answer? Do you believe that this 100 million tons of debris that has been part of the Japanese tsunami is a threat to the west coast of the United States?
We believe that the debris that is coming across the ocean is, some of it is going to wash ashore, some of it will sink. It is not at this point clear how much of it is still in play. And we have very active programs to try to track and measure what is out there and to understand what's likely to arrive when. We're working closely with both states as well as international partners and a lot of fishermen and others. We have redirected a number of our satellites to look at more finer resolution images to try to see what we can see. It's not yet clear that it's going to have a devastating impact by any stretch of the imagination.
So the answer to that is no, you don't think it is, or?
I think we don't have enough information to know for sure yet, but it's something that we are watching very closely.
Well, we're very concerned, and we think it is going to have an impact, but we certainly would love the data to understand the level of that impact. And without knowing that, we certainly want to make sure that we're prepared. So my concern is that the president's budget already cuts the existing marine debris program by 25%. This is before the tsunami even happened. This is a program that you have to deal with marine debris, and it's being cut now 25% before you're even dealing with this level. So my question is, how are you going to be able to deal with this with a 25% cut?
I think the cut to this program is going to be a challenge. It is one of the very important programs that in other circumstances we would not have chosen to cut. I think it's also important, Senator, to realize that, although when the debris washed into the ocean in the aftermath of the tsunami, it was a mass, but it spreads out and is not a concentrated big batch of stuff anymore. You could see it initially from satellite images. It's very difficult to see now because it is so distributed and because of a lot of it has sunk. That said, there is still a lot of stuff that is probably out there. It's just not clear what impact it's going to be having.
Do you have enough resources to analyze and tell us what kind of impact it will have?
We will do the best with what we have. If we had more, we would be doing more.
Well, that's not a good answer for someone trying to represent a state and an economy that's going to be impacted. We don't want to hear now, well, we could do better if we had more money. It's the president's budget that's recommending the cut, and if you don't have enough money to get the analysis, we'd rather hear that today so that we can do something about it. But we don't want to hear later that you didn't have the resources to understand this problem. It is a threat, and we're already seeing some. Can I just go to a related point to this? The National Tsunami Hazard Mitigation Program and DART warning buoy system. Okay, let's put the trash aside for a second now and just say that the warning system, which the buoy system is part of, the technology is great, and it's been improved with time, but that is also being cut $4.6 million. And so how is that going to affect the warning system for the state of Washington?
Senator, the funds from the WARN Act, which expire this year, enabled us to get ahead of the curve in terms of putting in place training for communities and implementing the DART buoys, et cetera. And that has actually been a real boon to us. The cut that you see in the program is a reflection of the fact that the WARN Act funds are expiring. And the consequence of that is going to be the following. We will still be able to issue all of the warnings that we do because those are not dependent on the DART buoys. Those warnings are issued well before the wave passes a DART buoy. Those DART buoys are key in helping us fine-tune our warnings as the tsunami is moving across the ocean. The fewer funds will play out in the following way. We will not be able to maintain those buoys at the rate we now maintain them. And it would be nice to be able to maintain them at the same rate. It's not something that we think is going to seriously jeopardize our ability to warn communities and to issue the kinds of warnings that we do today.
Japan had 30 minutes. So 30 minutes of warning, and if you think about the amount of damage that was done. So we're trying to build a more integrated system, and I'm certainly aware of the impact that the buoy system plays in giving you more updated information. The former chairman from Hawaii could tell you many stories about there's also economic impact from issuing warnings and then having nothing happen and not being able to tell people about that. So. Right. The system is building a smarter network to monitor all across the ocean. So I'd like to get from your agency how many are currently operational and how many do you think are needed to make sure that we have a functioning system. So if we could get that information
Absolutely.
From you.
Certainly.
And then similarly, but a different piece of information is the cut to the program for monitoring ocean acidification. So this is vital information that helps us, and I think there's a chart that shows where these buoys have been that help, you know, thousands of jobs in Washington State, because what you're doing on the identification of acidification is allowing people to shut down valves that protect, you know, those kinds of waters from coming in and killing crops. So very, very important for a very key industry in our state, and yet you're cutting that program as well.
Senator, this is one of those choices that I'm not happy about because it's a program that is very, very important. We will continue to do monitoring. It's not that we're not doing anything. We won't be able to do it at the scale that we would like to do it.
It's $250,000 for a return investment of an industry that's $270 million. I would think that that amount of money would have the agency thinking hard about a program that is helping an industry do the seeding that allows shellfish to grow. So I hope that we'll, Mr. Chairman, we're going to keep pushing on these issues. I think for us, as we look at the budget, and you know, having been the chair of the subcommittee, I know exactly how much deep water Coast Guard acquisition program takes up in the debate, or should take up in the debate. But cutting back on science that is important for jobs in the economy can't be substituted. And so we're going to make sure that if there is a shortfall here as it relates to science that are protecting jobs and protecting lives, that we're going to make sure that they get addressed in the budget and appropriations bills going forward. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator, I appreciate your shining a spotlight on these programs because they are very important.
Thank you. Administrator Levchenko, last March, one of the assistant administrator for NIMS, Administrator Schwab, testified in front of this committee, and he said, quote, "We'll do everything in NOAA's power to make sure the West Coast groundfish form, the fishery, is supported with adequate catch share coverage and funding." and obviously the industry is taking the large share of this, but I wanted to ask you about your commitment to make sure that that is a vital catch share program and that NOAA is doing everything it can to support that.
It is a vital program. We are doing everything we can to support it. It has, even after just a single year, it went into operation, came into effect just about a year ago, actually a year ago, January. And it is already, by all accounts, transforming the industry. Been huge increases in revenues as a result. And I think people are pleased with it. That said, there are many challenges that remain, and continuing to cover the observer costs is one that many in the industry have flagged. We are working with them on what is possible on that front. There are a number of other aspects that we are working with them. I think we have a good rapport, and we're really, I think it's a good success, but we need to make it even better.
But in the sense of the observer catch share, you play a vital role in making that system work, so.
We do, and the original plan of all of these programs was to, for the federal government to fund 100% of the observer coverage for a period of time and then ramp down so as the industry is recovering, it can take on more and more. What we've done is push that to the right because of the economy, because of the increased complexities with the program that were not fully anticipated. So we are still continuing to provide to fund the observer coverage. We've extended by a year the time frame for which we will do that, and then we will begin a ramp down where the industry will begin to take on more of it.
If you could provide those numbers to our office, that would be great. And then the last question I had, Mr. Chairman, something that you and I and many others are very interested in is the proposed budget as it relates to salmon and the Pacific Coastal Salmon Recovery impact and the dollars. And so I'm not exactly sure what you're thinking as it comes to the budget, and I know Congress will have a lot to say about this, but what do you think the impacts are on the regional councils and the fisheries from this budget?
So clearly we are excuse me, not funding the regional fishery management councils and commissions excuse me, at the level that we have in the last couple of years. We did everything we could to protect the funding to the councils and commissions in previous years when other things were taking a hit. They're taking a hit this year, and it's not, we are working with the councils to try to identify exactly what the consequences will be. We don't know that yet. That relates to all of the fishery management councils, not just the ones that are of interest to your fishermen. The salmon, the proposed funding for salmon in the FY13 budget is down from what it was last year, as you know, and I think there will be some serious consequences to that because many of those programs are very good. It is pretty much the same thing that is happening across the board in so many of the other areas where there are good things that we are simply not able to do.
There are laws on salmon, like the Endangered Species Act, that we have to comply with, and are you saying it'll have impacts on that?
We will not be in violation of any laws. But the rate at which we can do a variety of activities will not be the, will not, it's a question of pace, but I don't think that there's something that's actually any violation of the law that is resulting.
Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot to say about this moving forward, Mr. Chairman, but thank you very much and look forward to working with you on a lot of these issues.